Everyone, to the first installment of the Map Chat speaker series for the spring 2026 term. Thanks a lot to the CART Lab for hosting this event. Thanks everyone for being here in person and to folks joining us online. My name is Jonathan Nelson. I'm an assistant professor here in the geography department, director of GIS professional programs. And today I'm very delighted to introduce our speaker, Yanbing Chen. Yanbing is a PhD student, spatial UI UX designer, and an award-winning cartographer. And then today, she's got a wonderful talk in store that will examine how cartographic design changes across media, from expressive interactive maps to physical and tactile mapping artifacts. So without further ado, take it away, Yanbing.
So first, thank you everyone for joining my talk. And I also like to thank Janelle, Jonathan, and also Cadillac for this great opportunity to present my work. So today I'm honored to share like two of my mapping projects that explore like different media. So I remember clearly the first map chat I attended is 2024 February by Jenny Mason, and the title is Best Practice for Designing Maps and Telling Your Cartography Story. So at that time, I was just like starting my second semester in the master program, and most of the map I have made were for lab assignment or like final project. So I at the time I had taken 370, and honestly, I feel like at the time I was standing at a gate of cartography. I knew I enjoy making maps, but often feel stuck. I was constrained by whatever data I had, and I didn't know what story I want to really to tell. So after the talk, I asked Jenny about that. She asked me a really simple question: what do you like doing in your spare time? Her advice was to start by mapping something you already know well and generally care about it. So I thought about it for a long time, and it wasn't until the end of 2024 that I started to find my answer. So the end of 2024, during the Thanksgiving, I just put out the garage on the Glenway Street, and Finland Road was played from the car stereo. So one of my favorite songs by my favorite singer, Miriam Young. And not even minutes, the chorus came on and it mentioned Victoria Peak in Hong Kong. And I thought, like there are so many songs like in Cantonese song like that. So it's like full of places. So what if I could collect them all? And what if I could map the location and mentioned in Cantonese lyrics? So that became my first attempt, make a static map. So I start collecting Cantonese lyrics just from my own playlist at first. And for each song, I note down the lyrics, the place mentioned, and all the details like artist, album, years, and songwriter. And here's the first version. There are in total of 31 lyrics in the first version of the map. And the place-related lyrics are showing in white, placed right next to the location dimension on the map. The original Chinese lyrics are in bright yellow, and I added English translation with the help of ChatGPT, showing in white but smaller. And so song titles and artist names are in light yellow to keep the visual balance. And the first version was made in Chinese, and I shared it on the WeChat moments. And some friends comment that the map didn't include their favorite songs, or there's like missing certain place name they were hoping to see. And I also received a lot of emotional responses. Like people said that map remind of their time in Hong Kong, and starting like humming lyrics while looking at map, or were inspired to create like a movie location map of their own. I also shared it to my family chat, and my aunts asked me, does like clicking the title play the music? So I said, unfortunately, no for the static version. So that prompts me to the second version, make an interactive map. So at one point, I thought, like, if there are like so many songs that mention places, why wouldn't I just go big? Why not using API or web scraping to build a massive data set so that you can include like all the song that related places? And it could often go beyond Cantonese pop, like places in English songs, in Spanish songs, Japanese songs, etc. But when I tried to make it happen over the summer, I hit a wall. So there were major issues like copyright restrictions, missing lyrics, and incomplete data set for Cantonese music. So for some like English music gallery, even some of the top Cantonese artists weren't in the open data set, which is make really hard like to extract the data for the API. So I give up. And also, like, there's only one research titled "Music Stands." They claim that they succeed in web scraping ideas for scraping all the English song that with English lyrics that's embedded location. And while they also mentioned the copyright issue as well, but unfortunately, so that project they published their articles on the 2023, I think, and it's only 2 years, and the project link is already expired, and there's no like the demo like for it. So okay, so let me just try to like I had to pause, yeah, and then I go back to where I started. I start manually collecting lyrics and song by song, and through that process, I also found more songs referencing places beyond Hong Kong. So in a second, the web map version, there's in total of 167 lyrics in total. Region include Japan, Hong Kong, other regions in Asia, Europe, like US, or even Arctic or Antarctic. So see like how creative like those composer that when they're writing the lyrics. So this is the map version. Feel free to scan the QR code to check it out. And also I've been working on to make it mobile adaptive, so you can also try it on phone. So the map is bilingual, and they start with Hong Kong by default. When you click on music marker, the song and its associated location will pop up along with the embedded YouTube link, so you can listen to it right away. So you can also explore other regions I've mentioned, like field by artist, decades, or released years. If you're not familiar with counting song, that's totally okay. Just hit the surprise me button here, and the map will take you to a random song to explore. Yeah, and this is one of my favorite functions of this map. And then like it will direct you to the library. So with the song name automatically entered into the search box, and you can search by any song information and jump back to map anytime. So once I curate this global scale with less than 200 lyrics, but still global scale data set, I noticed a like real interesting like spatial pattern. So places are mentioned at very different geographic level depending on their region. In Hong Kong lyrics, it's often down to the street level, very specific, very local. But like for North America and Europe, it's more common to see cities, countries, or well-known landmarks like Imperial State Building or like the Little Mermaid. And Japan was somewhere in between. About like half of the Japanese reference was also the street or neighborhood level, or like from less famous city. So it's kind of interesting because you see the proximity like between Japan and Hong Kong, right? And I think it like just reflects more than language. It also like shows their cultural attitudes like toward space. So in fact, a lot of Hong Kong pop songs from the 1980s and 1990s are actually direct based on Japanese compositions, with Cantonese lyrics adapted from Japanese originals. So like in a way, the Hong Kong songs describe places is also a reflection of how Japanese pop culture shaped Canton pop. So some takeaways, start from small. The big codes, that just doesn't mean that it's better. So like if like when you start a project, over engineering a side project can disconnect you from the heart of your work. So when I started this project, I just handpick every song, and well, it just go to the interactive map. That's where I realized the project is gradually becoming a database, not like my story. So while I do the large scale data collection as much as I can, I also feel that sometimes like this distance me from this project, because not a lot of like more, there are more and more songs that I haven't heard before. Yeah, that may like some other people's like their story. So I asked myself, like, do I want to explore the world with this project, or do I want this map to say something about me? So right now I'm still collecting place reference songs, but I'm only focused on the Cantonese music. So forget about like the global, like different language stuff. Yeah, maybe at least like not for now. So the map was likely to present in the United Entry in International Cartographic Exhibition. It's a little bit weird because like the Hong Kong lyrics is like one of the example represent the like in American like entries, you know. So but anyway, so I was like really excited, and at the end of summer I brought it to ICC, and there's some picture and this lovely maps. So like, what's your first impression like when you see it, like the map? I mean, like, so I'll describe this thing. So I stood up at my map, and Anthony came by, and I introduced my map, and I feel like a little bit awkward and said, this is kind of small, and I wanted to show the lyrics, but it's really hard for him to see. So and he asked me, oh yeah, like, will you make a bigger one for NASA's? And I said, oh yes. So somehow I kind of forced myself to have another round of modification. Yeah, okay. So now let's make a better static map. So this is the final deliverables. And then, so what is the difference? First, of course, it's a printing size. The first is the initial size is 18 inches, 12 inches, and the revised version like nearly triple the size. And while a small tips when you're creating the maps, thinking about the channels when you distribute it. If you're like creating a text-read printed map, like 16 or like 18 pixels font size, that will keep map readable like from a distance, I mean physically. So as like this version was redesigned specifically for NASA's, so the primary language I covered to English. That leads to another round of redesign. So I started with a clear visual hierarchy. The map title is in white to make the most eye-catching elements, and all location-related content like street name, placemakers, icons is also in white to directly tie lyrics to geography. And English lyrics are in light blue, and while Chinese lyrics are in a deeper blue. So in both versions, any place mentioned in the lyrics is highlighted in place and shown directly next to the actual location of the map. So this way, like even with two language on a map, the visual system help viewer quickly associate each lyrics with this real world place. And another reason you might find the second is getting better because I changed the color scheme. So everything seems to be highlighted in the first version as I use both like white and really bright yellow, and they're very oversaturated and like both catching eyes, eye-catching. So you're like when you sit, actually like sitting in person, it will really like make you stressed. So right now, like the second version, the white is now reserved for place-related features as the highest visual hierarchy, while the lyrics use cooler, softer tones, and the only orange is only for the introduction. So some tips using darker thing. So when building the color scheme, I use the Color Buddy, a great tool to test out your desired color scheme, as you can play with background color and light or saturation is very, very like useful. But here, like for a text-rich map, those can only serve as a standard point. That is being said because the color scheme that looks great in a sample, like here, like in the features, doesn't always work well applied when you apply to a large amount of text on a large background. So you still need to do the back and forth adjustment a lot of times. And generally, if you want to have using a darker theme, just try to make the text in low, the color of the text low in saturation. And for more tips on like how to like creating maps or contents, like using darker scheme, like you can check Google's latest open source design system, Material Design. It has really a lot of very practical tips for you. And also, I would say like dark theme is a whole like different animal compared to that the light background is like more complex. Yeah, it's like whole different system. Yeah. So apart from that, I also as the map size is bigger, I also add annotation for some context as map size. So like for example, take this example. So they said the lyrics is February 3rd, first tied on Cotton Street road. So the Cotton Street road is the marriage registry right there, like in Hong Kong. And on the right on the right hand side, the Leighton Street, like it's it's once famous for wedding invitation printers. But that place was gentrified. So like the song in the lyric is that this place like once famous for joy, and now the crowds fill. So now let's cover. I'll show you like some of my favorites, like spatial stories embedded with the lyrics. So last summer, I visited my friends in Hong Kong, and we hiked to Victoria Peak. We stopped by the tactile Finlay Road, and we listened to the song like while we standing there. Yeah, it's you really like give you different like feelings. Yeah, and then this is also one of the my like I ever like to take this as example. So the Gold Marks and Times Square are two commercial plaza in CBD in Hong Kong. It's only like 3 to 4 minutes walking distance apart from each other. And in the lyrics, it's on we parted in Gold Mart and then reunited outside the Times Square. So which is like describe a twisted, like entangled love affair. And then for this, I used the story to include it in the locator map. So the lyrics about a couple on a date. They were chatting so effortlessly that like without even realizing, they end up all the way in Stanley. So Stanley like is quite far from downtown Hong Kong. Like if you really like took bus like 2 hours. So every time while I listen to the song, like it also like record my memories with my friend, like waiting the bus at the University of Hong Kong, like from downtown like to place near there, like to Stanley. We just like wait bus for 40 minutes. And then we took bus for 2 hours, and then back and forth like in a day. Yeah, so every time I would like recall this. And also there's a lot of interesting poem that you find in the map and the lyrics. So the Broadway Road in Cantonese and also in Chinese, it means happy living. But like the song said, on Broadway Road, that pair of lovers are still drawn in their walks. So you can see like this different perspective. Yeah, and also this is also one of my song and one of my favorite poem in the like in the Cantonese pop. So the Ting Ho like is both the name of a metro station like in the CBD, and also it means diva in Cantonese pop culture. And Damaru used to be an iconic departure store and also means a great perfection. And in the song, it says, in front of Damaru I pause, seeking where my journey goes. And the next stop is Ting Ho. So what could be better? There's nothing better than becoming a diva, right? Yeah, so there's a lot, also all this like interesting stories like embedded like within the lyrics and also in the spatial context. And only in the spatial context you can realize, oh, that is why like they write in this way. So I'm very honored that NACES folks really enjoyed this version of math, and and also shout out to Chen Han like for helping coding the first prototype of the map. Yeah, and some takeaways from this run. So first is I would say advising interactive map wisely through posters. So since dynamic interaction across multi-web page can't be fully revealed in a single view, so a well-designed poster rather than a single static screenshot can look more visually compelling and draw people to explore the interaction further. So you can see there's like a real difference. You see, like if you put them like in contrast, right? You will definitely like be drawn to the right hand side one. And second, like when designing a map, don't just think about the content, think about the context. So for example, starting with a larger map frame and size you're planning to print as opposed to show it in person. A small layout that looks fine on your laptop might feel cramped on a wall. And another benefit for starting with a larger map is that if you need to print smaller, you can scale down. But if you can't scale up with the smaller version, that means you need to redo the whole design again. And also always plan for your distribution channel early, like will this be printed, projected, or view on phone? Like actually this choice really affects not just your dimension, but also your text size, your symbol density, and color palette. And also one of the reasons I chose black as a background because initially I want to submit to NASA's, and for the map board in NASA's is black. So in this example, you can see like the lyrics work really well in white or like light blue to pop up. And also like don't be afraid to redo or resite a map if needed. Iterating on the format often makes a difference between a map that merely works and one really that shines in this like final environment. So like NASA's 2024 was held in Tacoma and it's truly inspiring and rewarding for me. So on the left is the brain's UV light map. It won the student map best design and it reveals the hidden pattern when you shine a UV pointer over the surface. And on the right is a map that was exhibited at the Tacoma Museum. It explored place name through language. So what made it special is that by looking through the color lens, you can physically filter out and then switch between English, Spanish, and indigenous places name view. So this all kind of different media like prompts me to think of what kind of other like possible media I could use beyond the static and the interactive, right? So thinking about music is all about audio. So is there a way like to embed audio like in my map? So I thought start a forefront of make a static interactive map. So initially I want to use the phrase tangible, but actually the term tangible means the map is an object with physical properties accessible without a need for technology and capable of directly manipulated by a user. So as I used an FC, so I didn't pick this word. Yeah, if you have a better word for this, just let me know. So I used to see examples for NFC music wall. So the theory is that NFC is the abbreviation for a near field communication. This is a short range wireless technology that allows data to be exchanged when a device is brought very close an NFC tag. So when a phone approaches the tag, it will read the stored information and automatically triggers a present actions such as play music or like pay by your phone. So so like the example of NFC music wall is that you stick an NFC behind a picture of your music, and as long as the phone is closed, you can automatically pop up to play your favorite music. So I start to stick those NFC tags like beside on the back of the map. This is like all the in total like 30, I think 31 or like 32 songs. Yeah, in total. There's Carol folks help me to see like if this is workable. Yeah, and my boyfriend is task at home. So in summary, looking back at the iteration process, you can see that different medium each have their own strengths and limitation, and they're best suited to different settings and contexts depending on their characteristics. So okay, so that is the story for the first project. I'll start with the next. So last summer, last semester, I took Ralph's drill 572. A quick plug for 572, highly recommend it. And especially if you're taking 370 right now, because I know Bill shared the map chat link to the 370 channel. So if you're thinking about like getting more into cartography world, the course is mainly centered on visual design, things like metaphors, semiotic aesthetics, and basically how map communicate meaning and how they can feel like an art form. So through the hands-on project, we made story maps and even like customized map box-based maps. So while I was like thinking of my final project, I had a realization. So everything I had learned so far in cartography was visual. So I started like asking, what about like non-visual mapping? How do we design a map for touch and not for sight? So that question pushed me to step out my usual workflow with ArcGIS Pro or like Illustrator and think about different kind of cartographic product I could actually make. So that is beyond static map and beyond interactive map, a tactile map. So a tactile map is a map designed to be read through touch. Instead of relying on color and visual hierarchy, it used raised elements like lines, shapes, textures to communicate boundaries, routes, or landmarks. And most tactile map includes braille labels, and some also add audios to provide extra information. The core purpose is not only representation, but usability, helping blind and low vision users to build a mental model of a place and navigate more independently and easily. So the most common location you will see tactile map are public buildings like hospital, government facilities, or it's also common in transportation such as airport, subway, rail station, where wayfinding is high stakes. You also see them in museum, parks, and visitor centers. They're usually installed at the entrance, main lobbies, or near elevators, or like information desks, so user can form like an overview before viewing. So the one lesson I learned from making the music atlas is to start small and concrete. So for this project, I began to think like first as a campus skill, something real, bounded that I could prototype quickly. So at the same time, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So before designing anything, I searched online to see what tactile map for our campus. That scan helped me understand what might be worth trying differently. And surprisingly, no, I didn't find any like public campus-wide tactile map. They're available for blind or visual low vision users at our university. So that gap also actually increased my motivation. So what I did find is there were two student projects from other courses. So one was a 3D printing tactile map for an engineering building, and the other was a well-designed prototype for the Bucket Center. But but like according to the author, like it was never successfully fabricated at, so it's like stayed at the prototype stage. So both examples start with a single building rather than an entire campus system. So I also designed to follow their same logic, begin with one building as a manageable first step. So of course, I choose the science hall. So once confirming the scope of the product, I start to dig into the tech part for tactile map. For the existing tactile map practice, especially like mid to low techniques, like there are 4 ways. So the first is braille embosser. The principle is embossing and debossing of thick paper to create raised dots and lines. And the left image shows the embossing device in action. You can see the paper fitting through the embosser as a punch braille dots into a sheet. And the right image is an example of the output tactile map printed on the embossed papers. And in terms of workflow, it typically goes from braille translation software to the embosser, and then the embosser prints on braille paper. And this method is fast and accessible for making prototype. But the main trade-off is the durability, because paper is not not ideal for long-term public exhibition. As you touch more times, like there will be like debossing. Yeah. And second, swell paper. So on the left, you can see example of swell paper ready design. So this is example from Zhao Xu Penn State spiral map. This is a high contrast black and white map, because the black ink will become raised. And in the middle, you see that machine is a heater, and sometimes they call it a fuser. They printed sheet run through it, and the heater triggers the swelling process. And then you see like the final output that the black line work has become raised. So the boundary and symbols can be read by touch. And this method is fast and relatively low cost for a prototype. And third, 3D printing. The left image is a rough prototype printing with a visible layer texture, and the right image is a more polished, like commercial style panel made with denser, more durable materials. And the typical workflow start with the CAD modeling, like in tools like Auto CAD, Fusion 360, and then you export to an XC file, like run into a slicer such as Bamboo Studio. So slicers can understand as like a layer, like in the GIS software, and then finally print it. So the advantage is precise control over height and shape, while the trade-off is that the large the large format really takes time and require more technical setup and can be expensive to produce and maintain. So also from the project reflection from the Bucket Center example, the author like specifically mentions like in the reflection. So what didn't go well was the production side of the project. Countless boards were reprinted due to the manufacturing into the input files or like machine errors. And last, laser cut. So laser cut ink breaks material like wood or acrylic, and tactile reliefs come from layering pieces. The both example are tangible map. Well, the example here are both tangible map and not like tactile map. So the last image example comes from Alice. Will stacked cut layers create height difference. So you can see the final deliverables here. And the right image shows the layer straight or boundaries, while cut line works form raised edge. So while I was exploring this low-tech approach to tactile design and fabrication, first, the Braille embosser and swirl paper are more low-tech in terms of design workflow. But the thing is, whether you can actually produce the map depends on the physical assets. That means I need a place that has the right equipment and materials like embosser, swirl paper, and fuser. And I tried email to different agencies and institutions and realized that final deliverables are upon them, not me. So pause. Yeah, I need to make my final project like a real stuff rather than a prototype like in the software. And then 3D printing. Actually, like this is not real low tech for a short timeline. Well, back to that, I only have like 1 month like to complete this. So with that said, I need to finish my like I don't think I could manage like to finish like learn all the 3D software stuff like within 1 month and have this like published. Yeah. So and also as the previous example mentions, like the fabrication time can become a bottleneck for depending on it was success or not. So in the end, like laser cut feel like the most practical upon like for a student like me who want to like trying to make their first tactile map. So here I also want to shout out to Caroline like for all the help. Yeah. And laser cutting are relatively common in university makerspace, which make this approach more scalable and replicable. So first, now let's get into the laser cut design workflow. For the design stage, the first thing I had to lock down was the Braille. So only the ADA style tactile scenic practice, Braille has strict requirements for dot size and spacing. So in practice, the font size is around 29 pixels, and overall footprint are not something like you can really feel skilled on. So that means you need to design Braille label location at the first stage. So once those placements are set, they become the foundation of the entire layout because everything else has to be maintained enough clearance for the tactile reading. And then the second question took me the longest, like what actually needs Braille on an indoor tactile map. So after I add Braille, like for the tactile and for the legend, I start questioning whether every room should have a Braille or not. So if I try to label each room, like even a simple like 3-digit room number become like physically really long in Braille, and a map will need like a major redesign like to avoid really crowding. And with that being said, like your map also is like a giant piece, yeah, rather than like something you can just fill like within the frame. So for the existing practice, some maps use numbers or lettered symbols on a map that point to a separate Braille legend, and others do not label every room at all. So in my case, ADA guidance suggests that the map work together with the building's tactile room signage, where each room already like has its own Braille plaque. So the map don't need to be duplicate every label. It just mainly need to support the orientation and the decision making. So based on that, I just like put like 2 like extra Braille for the room on the left, like 1 room on the left wing, starting with 201, and 1 room on the 1 room on the right wing, and then 1 room from the left wing, like 280. So, And next, I moved to the floor plan itself. So I started from the original architecture drawing and simplified in Adobe Illustrator. I keep only the structure element that matters for indoor navigation, the main walls, the room outlines, corridor structures, and then the key vertical circulation features like stairs and elevators. At the same time, I designed the legend to be as minimal as possible, because like a long tactile legend is really hard to learn and it's got easy to confuse because for each legend you need to have like different texture and size, right? So I prioritize assessment of critical facilities like stairs, elevators, restroom, and these are important for safety and emergency navigation. And they're also commonly emphasized in ADA style wayfinding and accessible building signage. So based on the floor plan, I then added like 3 functional categories that were used for the specific like academic setting, office, lab, and classroom. And finally, I add a dedicated like wayfinding paths to make the routes planning easier to touch. So in total, like seven legends. And based on the first draft, I made like 2 major refinements. So first, I realized that drawing every room as a fully enclosed forward box, creating like too much repetitive tactile structure, because the small difference in wall thickness and the density could make the room feel unsimilar and maybe like cause confusion, right? Like when people touch it. So I removed the redundant interior wall segment and simplified repeated structures. And second, my initial wayfinding path was not prominent enough, as you can see on this like first prototype is like very thin line and it's even thinner than wall. So I redesigned to be like thicker and wavy. So once user like touch the line, they can feel that, okay, so I could like follow the way path and to find a room. And then and all of the wayfinder, the end of the end of the wayfinding just end to the door of a room. Yeah, so it will like makes it easier like to locate it where you want to go. And then third, I designed a map to be bilingual in a sense of 2 reading modes, touch and sight. So anything intended for touch is raised, and anything intended for visual reading is engraved or recessed. So I think this separation is really, really important because I noticed a common issue in other tactile design that's like where every element is raised. Like for example, the English title, right? So I think like from other like user experience summary, like user can like easily get confused like during their like tactile exploration. Okay, so the fabrication part. In the laser cutting, a vector cut means that the laser follow the vector line path and cuts all the way through the material. It's different from engraving, which only mark the surface. So in this project, I use vector cuts to produce the structure outline, the main building footprint, and then the boundary strip that later become raised wall and edges like when assembled. One important constraint in the makerspace is that the material thickness is fixed. Like for example, whether you use the MDF like wood file, composite wood file, or acrylic, they typically come in standard sheets that's only just 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch. So instead of like freely choose any hating software like you would do in 3D printing, right? I had to like design with materials. So in my map, like the baseboard is 1/4 inch, and for the outer building boundaries, I built extra height by stacking a 1/8 inch layer underneath and then adding a 1/4 inch boundaries layer on the top. And this layer strategy is like how I created the tactile hierarchy. And the best part is that the outer building boundary is inset into the baseboard. So it locks into the place during the assembly. So apart from that, you can also see some slight burn marks along the cut edge, which this is like a normal side effect for cutting wood-based material. And this is something at first I didn't realize it's an issue, but later I figured out, especially while doing the raster cut stuff. The raster cut just means that the laser scans the back and forth like a printer to burn a surface and then to create a shade or field areas. So it's not like a completely cut. So here I use raster engrave for the visual title text. So it's like debossed and you won't feel it while you touch it. So the challenge here is really the burn effect, so which can be pretty annoying and very noticeable compared to vector cut, like especially on wood. So to reduce burning, I applied a layer of masking tapes on the surface. The tape protects the material and helps to prevent the scorch marks around the engraved area. So this is well, I learned I'm thinking about how to do it, and I saw, oh, there's like other people in the makerspace. They're doing the tape, and I said, oh, what is this? And like they told me, yeah, and it's very useful tips while you like dealing with the wood laser cut wood. But like the tape introduce another detail you have to manage like the seams. So if two tape strips leave a small gap, especially on the fourth, like here. So actually like you will see like a darker mark, and if the tape like they overlap, like the engraving can become lighter in that region because the layer has to go through the actual layer, right? So even the small imperfection like in taping can actually affect the final engraving qualities. And to tune the results, I test like 4 settings by changing laser power and speed, and then pick the most legible one. So the next is to raster engraving the room numbers on the baseboard. So I repeatedly check the correct text position and then mark the survey with the tape before engraving to reduce the burn marks and then keep the text clean. But you can still see like for the color lab, it's not like entirely included. Yeah, but as I kind of lower like the power, so it doesn't really have the too much like burn effect. And this is what I got for the baseboard. So then assemble. So before assemble, I printed a braille label using a 3D printer. I won't illustrate here for too much, but because this is one of the cons, like the next step for this project. And then for the walls, I laser cut the thin acrylic strips to differentiate the touch from the boundaries. And then for the legend, I used raised bump. I bought the raised bump dots from Amazon, and then this also serves as both the legend and also the entrance door as you like touch it. And finally, I assemble and glue all the pieces like onto the baseboard. So this is what I got at last, and also this is like fun. And then see. Yeah, and also shout out to Kelly again, like for like she has a lot of experience in tactile map and guide me a lot like through the process. Okay, so let's talk about the limitation. Um, so so for this, like I would say like semi like product, I think like there's a lot that can be improved in this prototype and for the next step. So the most critical issue is the braille labeling. So I generate the braille automatically using the Bamboo Maker like online platform. Like this like really easy. Like they have the really quick text to braille converter, and but their default model represent like each braille dot as a small cylindrical cylinder, yeah, rather than a hemispherical dot that compare with ADA standard. So that's being said, the braille is not very readable by touch. Yeah, and I think this is the most urgent problem to address. And the second limitation is the material choice. So due to the cost constraints, I use the HDF wood board, which is the cheapest material available in the makerspace. So one major issue with laser cut wood is the strong burn smell immediately after fabrication. So I check online for others' experience. So this like smell can take 1 to 2 months of for the ventilation to fully dissipate. Yeah, and I believe because I put it for like over is that 2 months? Yeah, like maybe 2 months. So maybe you may not like kind of have that smell. Yeah, because every time like when I done with the fabrication, you can feel that smell on your hands like for several days. So that's why after the first section, I started to like buy the disposable gloves, yeah, to use to prevent that. Yeah. So and also like the HDF is also not waterproof and would require steeling or like painting to be water resistant, which limits the product to indoor use. So think about as you really want to use the laser cut printing wood to add like a really like in practice use, right? You can only put it like indoor. So also like the surface texture is relatively like rough, I would say. Yeah, you can still feel it's like not like 100% like smooth. Yeah. So and then like the third issue is the visual quality. So the acrylic components I choose like for the wall is transparent, while like the glue used to bond them like for specifically the wood material is yellow. So if you see it clearly, you will see like you will like the glue is overflow clearly visible, and if you like until the close inspection, and like since this is like intended for a bilingual product that also communicate like visually, the visible glue reduces like over aesthetic quality, I would say. So I think like improve the bonding method and visual finish like will be like one of the important next step. Yeah, and also like one of my like next up planning is to add the like audio in this. Yeah, and I know as the science hall is about to like fully like renovate. Yeah, I hope like within like this year I could have the chance like to rebuild the floor plan of fifth floor, and it can like I if I could like bought the that recordable like audio buttons that plays on each room, then everyone can have like an intro like audio introduction of like their office, right? Like for example in cartographic in 250, like we can have like a collective audio recorded, right? That will make this like more meaningful at this stage. Yeah. So uh so that's like everything I want to share like in this map chat today. So I know like Bill also shared this session like with still 370 students. So I also want to live like with a small like humble like reflections. So especially for those who are just entering the world of cartography and may feel overwhelmed by it. So you might see like so many incredible maps, so many eye-catching designs, and so many talented people. And also there's a lot of them, they're from Color Lab, we're like very proud of. And there are also too many talented, brilliant ideas, too much to learn from others. So maybe you might think like, I want to do that too, but I don't even know where to start. Cause like for me, like I still like feel like this way myself, like from time to time. So that brings me back to the question that Jeannie asked at the very first. So what do you enjoy? Like what story do you want to tell? And who is your map for? So a map is automatically a medium for storytelling. Once you have a story like genuinely you want to express, the next step is to think about what kind of maps best serve that story. Whatever the media, and then to study, to experiment and iterate towards that form. So maybe like my opinions and advice is that start small and start with what you really enjoyed. You don't need to master everything at once, and you don't need to compare yourself to every great map you see, because I see cartography is like a long conversation rather than a competition, although we have a lot of competition. Yeah, right. So if you keep working on questions you care about, the skills and the techniques will come, and over time, like your voice as a cartographer will become clear too. Yeah. That's being said, thank you everyone for listening. Yeah, if you have any questions, yeah, just yeah. All right. Thank you, Yanbing. Thank you.